The Madderahs of York, Part 1 of 4. William Madderah. At St Mary Castlegate in York, on October 25th, 1800, Benjamin Madderah married Elizabeth Nightingale. Their union was soon blessed with children. Their daughter Sarah was born in 1801, William in 1803, Benjamin in 1805, Margaret in 1807, and finally Thomas in 1808. Benjamin Sr. was a fisherman who plied his trade on the River Ouse. Little is known of his life. His name does not appear in any of the local newspapers, which probably means he lived a quiet and honest life. The same cannot be said of his sons William and Thomas. The Butcher's Shop, January 1825. In January 1825, William appeared in court along with 4 other men, accused of stealing 6 pounds of beef from Thomas Jewett, a butcher in York's Shambles. No details of the case are given, but the York Herald newspaper reported that William was acquitted, whilst the other 4 were each sentenced to 6 months' imprisonment with hard labour. Assault on a Constable, January 1827. In the early hours of January 31st, 1827, Mrs. Pickering, the owner of a house of ill fame in St Andrew Gate, was trying to deal with 2 exceedingly riotous customers. She summoned the parish constable, William Exley, who, upon his arrival, found the Madderah brothers, William and Thomas, causing the commotion. Details of the interaction are not recorded, but it resulted in the Madderahs assaulting and injuring Exley before fleeing. Break-in on Goodramgate, February 1827. In the early hours of February 1st, Constable Inglis, patrolling near Goodramgate, spotted the 2 Madderah brothers, who were now wanted in connection with their assault on Constable Exley just 24 hours earlier. They were accompanied by a 3rd man, 16-year-old George Abbey, who was one of the 4 men found guilty of the butcher's shop robbery mentioned earlier. Inglis was able to follow them unnoticed as they made their way to Goodramgate. While one of the Madderahs kept watch by pretending to be drunk, the other 2 attempted to force open the shutter of the shop. Inglis confronted them, and after a short chase was able to apprehend all 3 men. They remained in custody until their trial on May 5th, when they were all found guilty and sentenced to 12 months' hard labour. Drunk and Disorderly, November 1828. In late November, Thomas and William, together with Sarah Wilkinson and Elizabeth Skelton, were arrested for drunk and disorderly conduct. Appearing before the bench of the magistrates' court, the 2 brothers were each sentenced to 1 month in the House of Correction, and the ladies to 7 days. Stolen Boots, December 1828. On December 20th, immediately following his release from the House of Corrections, William was under arrest once again. On Peter Lane, off Jubbergate, shoemaker George Wilson displayed footwear for sale. William was seen taking a pair of boots from the display. He hid them under his coat and walked off. The witness, a small boy named Dent, immediately informed the shop owner, Wilson, who followed Madderah into Jubbergate and confronted him. A police constable was quickly on the scene, and finding William in possession of the stolen boots, promptly arrested him. At his trial on January 16th, William's defence was that he had picked up the boots from the flagstones, believing they had been lost or discarded. He was not believed, and the jury quickly returned a guilty verdict. William's obvious contempt for, and disregard of, the law was about to backfire on him. He had been in court before, and no doubt expected to be sentenced to another spell in the House of Corrections. The judge, however, had other ideas. In light of William's previous record, it was obvious he was an irredeemable rogue. Issuing the harshest punishment he could, he sentenced William to 7 years of penal servitude. In this time period, any sentence of 7 years or more automatically included transportation to Australia. He remained in prison at the castle in York until May the 12th, when he was transferred to the prison hulk Dolphin, moored at Chatham. Then, on October the 22nd, he was transferred to another hulk, the Retribution. Prison hulks were usually decommissioned wooden warships from the Napoleonic era, used as holding facilities for prisoners scheduled for transportation. They were grim for boarding places, damp and unhealthy, with a fetid stench about them. William's time aboard these rotten floating prisons must have been hell, and so it was a relief when, late in December, he was transferred to the Nithsdale, which embarked for New South Wales on the day after Christmas Day, 1829. Life in the Antipodes, 1830 to 1836 and beyond. The Nithsdale arrived in New South Wales on May the 12th, 1830, having spent 4 months and 16 days in transit. Some convicts were used as labour for public works, road building and infrastructure. Others would be assigned to a master for farm work. In either case, they were essentially slave labour. William was assigned to work for John Gaggin, a free settler who owned a 2,000-acre ranch in Windsor, 20 miles northwest of Botany Bay. But Gaggin's ranch failed in 1831, and William was reassigned to work in Patrick Plains, around 80 miles due north of Sydney. The good news, from William's point of view, was that with good behaviour, he was able to apply for a ticket of leave after 4 or 5 years. A ticket of leave allowed a convict to work for himself. He was required to remain in a specific area, report regularly to local authorities, and attend divine worship every Sunday if possible. William obtained his ticket on August the 9th, 1834. Upon completion of his 7-year sentence on November the 3rd, 1836, William was issued a certificate of freedom. He was now a free man and could, if he had the money, return to England. Existing records do not show what happened to him after this date. It is unlikely that he could afford to return home to York, so he probably stayed in Australia. However, there are no records indicating that he married, and no evidence of any children, and it is not known when he died.